Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Trading Triangle. We are back once again after a 4-week hiatus. I've been in Japan for 2 weeks and Kay's been in India for 2 weeks. How was it, Kay?
It was great, man. I'm still getting used to being back here. It was crazy. It was 80 degrees weather there. I'm come back. It's 30 degrees here. So in Fahrenheit, I know you guys
Yeah,
talk in Celsius.
80
So
degrees.
yes. So yeah, it's cold here, and but we have been trading, so we haven't been away from trading, so we know what's going on in the market, and I'm very excited to be back, and we will pick it back up from where we left off.
Yeah, good stuff. Looking forward to getting back into the charts and obviously talking to the community. We love to do it every week. Obviously, we're just a couple of guys on the internet talking about charts, so it's not financial advice. We love to do it, and obviously just giving different trading perspectives throughout the whole market. And obviously, big thank you to Wolf for letting us use the platform. We really appreciate it. And lastly, obviously, put your tickers in the comments down below. We'd love to go through them. Basically, what we normally do is go through the market, etc., and the earnings, all those kind of things. And then we go through our individual picks, and then we go through the audience request. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get into the slideshow, won't we, Kay?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Right, I'm a bit rusty, and they have changed the streaming platform slightly, so I'm not too sure where things are. There we go. Got it. Well, hey. Right.
A lot has changed in the last 4 weeks. When I was updating the deck, Bitcoin was in 69,000, and now it's $100,000. So that has been remarkable, I would say.
I was looking at the slideshow because we present this slideshow, everyone, and obviously 4 weeks ago, SPY was really down, not down, but it was much further down. QQQ was much further down, things like Tesla and all of that. It's just crazy how much can really happen in just 4 weeks. And speaking of weeks, obviously last week we had a pretty green week all round. Apple, NVIDIA, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, all posting really, really good numbers. And Tesla, you can see the big kind of green square on the right side there, 15%. Did you catch that move, Kay? Because I didn't. I even posted about it, but I didn't catch it.
So I already have trading positions that I'm just waiting for, because I don't want to open any covered calls at this point in time on Tesla. I'm just waiting for to see how high it can go before that reversal, so that then at that time I'll open covered calls. So I have existing positions, just waiting and enjoying the ride up.
Awesome, yeah. So I think the one that I want to pick out from this list is Amazon. I mean, what a week it's had.
Yeah.
Bouncing off. I've been banging the Amazon drum for the last few months. It was actually in one of my challenges for FGMO, and it basically made me complete the challenge, which is really, really good. Really appreciate that for Amazon stock price. Right, let's move on. Neutral, would you believe? The fear and greed index is neutral. Explain why, Kay.
I have no idea. I think it's a little bit strange that, considering we have had such a bull run on all the stocks, that the fear and greed is in neutral. But it won't take that long to go back into greed, considering we may still continue with the rally. Now keep in mind that I think a lot of options are going to expire on the December 20th, so that you will see a lot more price action. And remember, there will be a lot of tax loss harvesting coming up in the last week, so you will start to see a lot more selling in the last week or so. But yeah, I mean, the VIX is down. VIX is down. The put to call ratio was 0.75 when we last left. Is back to 0.6, so very bullish. SPY is now over 600, right? I remember we were talking about SPY being over 500 and 520 and 550. QQQ, same thing. IWM, we were at like 200 level, 210. Now it's 238. Talked about Bitcoin. We were at 70,000 back then. 4 weeks ago, now it's 100,000. Crazy. And the CPI numbers are coming out on 12/11, and then the jobless claims on 12/12.
Yes, that's Thursday and Friday, isn't it? I was going to mention something, but I completely forgot what it was. I'm not too sure what it was. It can't have been that important. Earnings this week are coming ahead. Obviously, we've got Oracle, I think, is the one that most people will be looking at on here on Monday evening. And, of course, Adobe as well on Wednesday evening, actually. Are those two you're going to be watching, or are you looking at something else?
I actually am going to look at Broadcom, AVGO. That's interestingly. So I don't know if you have noticed or not. We are talking about all the stocks except the semiconductors.
Yeah, at the moment, anyway.
Exactly, and this is where the opportunity actually lies. AVGO was actually a very good opportunity last week before that run that happened with AVGO, and then they're going to report earnings coming week. The other one that it interests me is where did it go? Actually, GameStop I'm looking at. The reason I'll say why GameStop is because, again, it's a meme stock, but we just had the Roaring Kitty post a very cryptic message.
He does that.
He does that. So, things have revived. And considering how everything is going up and there's so much bullishness across the board, meme stocks are back in the business, back in the play.
Yeah, it's not just GME, is it? It's the kind of names that follow it as well.
BlackBerry, AMC, yep.
C3A, I think, is one of those that kind of runs with it. There's loads of them, so many of them. Just have a look in the past to see what kind of runs with it. Just before we move on to the next slide, which I believe is the SPY chart, make sure you put your tickers into the comments below. We haven't had many come through just yet, and that's completely fine. We've been away for some time. We probably lost the schedule and thinking, where are they? Oh, I'll just give up on them. But no, we are back, and we're going to be taking quite a run because the Sundays that kind of go through Christmas are kind of not at Christmas or not at New Year's. So I think we could just do it as normal, can't we, Kay?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll be normal throughout moving forward. I think all the holidays are done from our side, at least travel holidays are done for the foreseeable future.
Exactly right. And with that, we'll move on to the first chart of the day.
Okay.
SPY chart. So 4 weeks ago, we were here, which is incredible because I see a big gap up overnight, basically, whenever that was. Beginning of November time, and obviously we came back down and we tested that area of previous resistance around 584, and we just moved up ever since. And that's basically what you get in a bull market. You just get consistent, small traveling days. Every now and then you get a bit of a dip down and people slightly panic for some reason. But that's kind of what happens in the bull market. You just slowly grind up. Now, everyone's question is, where are we going? I don't know, because I'm not a genius. I don't know what's going on. But I'm just going to keep riding my stocks up, keep trading with the trend. Obviously, that's the kind of main thing that we talk about on this channel. Until we see a little bit of a break, in the trend line that I've got drawn here, or obviously the 20 moving average perhaps, or even this support here, which is combined with the volume profile. Until we see that, I'm not going to be looking short, that's for sure. Anything, Kay?
Yeah, no, I mean, why would you short SPY unless a trend has reversed, right? There is absolutely no reason to do that. And the options chain also is practically very bullish on SPY. Like generally, SPY option chains is always over 2. But right now it's all 1.36, 1.6, 1.46. So relatively, it's bullish. There are a lot more call options. I wouldn't, bet against SPY. It's like a recipe for disaster. And we are getting a lot of requests. So I am tracking all the requests. Unfortunately, SpaceX is not a public company, so I don't think we can cover that. But yeah, we will cover. I got Tesla, Square, NVIDIA, Baba, and Baidu. Okay, I got those.
Good evening, Sebastian.
Sebastian, welcome.
Baba and Baidu. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into those a bit later on. But yeah, I think just trading the trend, isn't it? It's a tricky one because it's just got to come down at some point, right? At some point it will come down, but until it breaks any major support, I'm not looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, it is expected that there will be some kind of a pullback, right? Yeah. And a 3 to 5% pullback is a healthy pullback. But why you won't short the market? It's not like you're looking for a 10% or 20% decline unless something out of the blue happens, which we can't predict and nobody can predict.
No, but we'll be ready. QQQ, much of a similar story. It was a little bit of a lagger. So we had SPY broke out, 10 days ago, something like that. But QQQ only broke out on Monday from this kind of similar sort of wedge pattern. And it went. So Tesla followed, NVIDIA. NVIDIA actually didn't follow, and I'll talk about that when I bring up the chart in a minute. And obviously lots of other semis kind of lagging as well, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, all that really doing quite well this week. And I actually had a trade on QQQ, well, the future version, on QQQ, because I wasn't too sure which one to buy between Meta and Microsoft. So I thought I'd go for the whole batch. And luckily that paid off as well, obviously at the beginning of the week, going into towards the end of the week. Not really much to talk about on this chart. Obviously, we are just traveling in the right direction.
No, I think it's the same. I'm not shorting anything. Just keep following the trend is your friend, as they say, right?
Exactly. Well, we'll leave it there, won't we? I mean, lots of supports down here, so I wouldn't be buying here, that's for sure. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the QQQ. Awesome. So the first chart of the day is NVIDIA. I know VJ, you brought this one up. You wanted me to, or not wanted me to cover it, but you wanted it to be covered. And this is what will be happening. We'll just cover it now. We won't add it to the list later on. So what we can see here, okay, I think is a little bit of a stair-stepping move up. It looks a little bit negative, perhaps. You might have a bit of a head and shoulders.
Yep.
But the head is it's a bit big for me. A bit wide. If that makes sense.
It's a wide head. Yeah,
it's a wide head, but it is still a head.
and 149.57, where it got rejected. What 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times it got rejected. So that goes to show that once you have a catalyst strong enough, we may see a breakthrough.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting on this chart as well, there's lots of levels which I've drawn, 130, 140, 150. So I've just done a hypothetical 160 because obviously that's an all-time high territory. So I'm thinking if it does break this, I'm just going to aim for 160. I mean, why not? Because it seems to be going up in tens. And the position I like to take here is obviously 140. You can see the line flowing throughout the screen. You've got a 50 moving average and the trend line as well kind of coming up behind it. I think if we do pinch down towards or pump down towards kind of 140 tomorrow, I'll probably take an entry. That's obviously it's not financial advice, just my kind of thoughts. It's not set in stone, of course, but I like it at those levels. Do you like it there, or do you like it lower?
Honestly, I have been building a lot of position at different levels, but I like the 139 because it's also where the volume shelf is pretty big. And if you want to be even more conservative, then the 50-day SMA, which is 137, could be a good entry point. But at these levels, if you have a position, you can start a position also, because you're looking for that breakout. That's what the play is here, right? Unless we see a complete decline from that trend line that we have drawn, I don't see that happening, because we have also had a bounce on the 50 SMA. So there's a lot more buying pressure comes in at those levels for NVIDIA. And as a Max 7, why would you count it out when all the other Max 7s are running, right? Because end of the day, semiconductor has been a little bit on the sidelines of the news, which is good. But I think this is a time that you aim for those kind of entry points.
Exactly right. And I think looking at kind of ETFs like SMH as well is important. I think if you can write that one down on the list, I want to have a look at that later on, because it's looking pretty tasty. I think it's currently trading SMH.
SMH, okay.
It's a semiconductor ETF. It's kind of trading within a wedge at the moment, so we'll bring that up a bit later on and see what people think around the potential of semiconductors maybe making another move.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I like the price action off of the 50 moving average about 7 days ago for NVIDIA, and that is what makes me believe, wow, I'm rusty. There could be a point of contention in the next few days. Maybe I just need to slow down a bit. I'm getting a bit too excited.
So we have few questions.
Let's bring them up.
So I think it's Trendy John. He asked, do you guys ever use QTR and yearly candles? I use them for leaps. Home Depot and Square, I think that's Upstart, and MACD looks beautiful. McDonald's looks beautiful.
I don't actually use quarter or yearly candles at all. I do use monthly candles for kind of long-term swings to see if it's at the kind of pivot point that we want to see. But I think this one probably more aimed towards you, because obviously you have the kind of leap option. Do you ever use that?
I don't use yearly. I do use weekly. Monthly very few times, just to get a broader overall picture. But for me personally, I mostly will stick with weekly, and that gives me good enough trend, and then mostly the daily ones that I focus on. The next question is, I can't pronounce the name, it's in some different alphabet, but it says, what you gonna do when the minus 90% comes for you?
I think that might be related to it's like what you're going to do when something comes to you. I think it might be a little bit of a play on some words.
Okay.
But to be honest with you, I will never get minus 90% investment ever again because I have a
In the
stop loss.
trading, you have a stop loss,
Yeah.
right? You if you are going to leave your stop loss at 90%, then yeah, that's what's going to happen. You should have your stop loss that it should at least trigger off, and you. Not all trades are going to go in your way, so stop loss is very, very important if trading.
Yeah, I mean, one piece of advice, if we are going to give any advice, is never have a minus 90% stop loss in place. Next chart. Google, right? So it's obviously a big tech player. It's not quite moving as much as Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, etc. It's kind of lagging behind a little bit. Which, if the market is to continue kind of grinding upwards in the next few weeks, I like this to kind of follow up behind it as a bit of an opportunity. Now, of course, we are in a bit of a sticky spot. You can see on the screen here we're kind of trading within this wedge. But I've drawn out a pretty, from actually last Sunday's stream, I drew out a kind of path, should we say. It seems to be kind of respecting it nicely so far. But what I would like to see this week, ideally, given the momentum, etc. I know we have CPI on Thursday, which could be an interesting catalyst. But a break of this wedge up higher and obviously come back down and retest it. And that would be my entry point for a kind of shorter trade, should we say. Probably wouldn't hold this for much more than a couple of months. But yeah, that's really, really simple kind of chart here. Do you think it's lagging behind? Is it not doing as well as other
it is compared to the other maximum. I think Tesla, Amazon, even Apple, I think that those guys have taken are a little bit further ahead. And I think Google has been struggling because their AI Gemini has not been able to catch up. That's number one. The number two, with ChatGPT coming up with the search engine, and Perplexity and a couple other ones are kind of looking at Google, and they're actually going after their biggest revenue driver, which is the search. So, but this is, again, it's a 900-pound gorilla, and I do think from a long-term perspective, Google is a good buy. It just depends on your positioning, how you want to position. And I personally have a couple trades on Google, ongoing, but it's not going as well as a couple other ones like Tesla, for example.
I don't have anything in place just yet. I mean, I would have liked to have bought here, but I didn't. I basically didn't set a limit. So
hey, listen, I would have loved to keep my Google since 2000 when I bought, right?
Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Google in the next kind of few trading days, see if it can kind of catch up. Just out of interest, and in the comments, do you use Google Search or do you use ChatGPT, Perplexity? Because from a personal point of view, I use Perplexity a lot. It's actually on my main, on the home screen on my phone, basically for anything and everything. Google obviously sometimes.
I am still using Google and ChatGPT. I don't use Perplexity.
I want to know what the audience thinks. Stick it in the comments. What are you using to search? And with that, we'll move on to basically where to find me. You can find me on X. Obviously, I post charts, and obviously I do threads as well. It's kind of general kind of financial knowledge, that kind of thing. On YouTube, I do have a video coming this week related to my FGMO challenge. You can see whether I passed it or not. Some guys might already know if you're following me on X, but of course, you can figure that one out for yourself. If you jump over to the YouTube channel, obviously the handle is there, SHAUN Trades. And I do have something new I'm offering, which is actually a link in my X profile. It's a TTR, which is a trading room. It's basically a trading community where you can all come together and we can trade together, learn together, and obviously post charts and have my perspectives, and just basically create that kind of warm community within the industry. Anyway, enough about me. What's your first chart? Okay.
So before I guess we go into this chart, I think we have the question. Let's look at the question. So one of the questions: everybody is talking about Tesla, Doge, SpaceX, Neuralink, etc., surging because Elon is into government status now. Solid thoughts or not? I think funny you brought that up. Sean and I, we were discussing it right before we went live. I think it's safe to assume that till Elon is in the favors, or at least heading the Doge until that blows up or not, I think from my perspective, I think all his companies and the public trading companies, at least Tesla, is going to benefit from it. There is no two ways about it. Now, if something happens down the line that it blows up on his face, some scandal happens, then Tesla will also get an impact. But for now, everybody's saluting the rising sun, so I wouldn't bet against it. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, it's a kind of standard thing, is it? Just ride the wave until it peters out. So if you're in those kind of companies, Doge, Tesla, obviously be careful. It's a trade at the end of the day. Obviously set those stop losses, but if you're in it, then enjoy it. Why not?
And I don't know if we even invest in SpaceX and Neuralink. I don't know about those. We cannot.
There might be something behind closed doors privately, perhaps. Obviously, they do have investors; they must do. But it's not public, of course. And related to the Google search earlier, we've got one actually says Perplexity. Thank you, Patrick. And obviously, John is Google and Barney is Google as well. So there's still some Google users out there. I'm pretty sure there's a few million of them. But yeah, anyway, first chart for you then, okay? Celsius. What have you got for us?
So Celsius, it's at a very interesting, it has fallen off the radar and the grace of all the investors. But, going back, and if you can remove our photos, then I can actually see the dates. But since October, we have had this nice 28-23 as our support, and this has been able to bounce, and it did break a little bit slightly for a couple of days, and then it has come back over that line. So right now, this is the consolidation phase around the 28-23. With that said, the next resistance that most likely Celsius is going to have is the one that I have drawn at 35.81. So from 28.23 to 35.81, that's a 26% upside if you assume that we will get a rejection at that level. So this is one trade that is on the radar. And, as days goes by, and of course, I would highly recommend, if you're going to look into the Celsius trade, definitely follow the news and the latest events. For Celsius, things are improving on that front. So, Dave Greta, who is who on X, I think he's there. He used to follow. This is his stock actually. I got the idea from him. So kudos and credit to him. He has been in Celsius for a very long time. He ran it up, and then now once it's he got out at the high. But right now it's getting very interesting. So I'm not saying I'm getting into trade right now, but this is something on the watch list where there is a potential for a decent, handsome return, on Celsius for the next run up.
Yeah, this one for me as well, just on all of that basically combined, is if it does make that move, you've still got a lot of move to be had in the future. So even if you miss that first move, you think, oh no, I missed that first move to 35. If it does, start, utilizing that trend and going towards, higher highs, you've still got 42 and 61. That's still like 80%. So don't feel hard done by if you miss this first move. Obviously, yeah, it's a bit gutting because you would have, lost out on much, much bigger gains if it gets to 61. But I wouldn't feel too hard done by if you do miss this first move. Celsius for me, I think I bought it up here somewhere and it got stopped out somewhere around about here. Good job it did, because obviously it has basically bled out for the last couple of months, really, maybe even 3 months. But yeah, it's an interesting stock. It's still just a drink, though, isn't it? It'd be interesting to see what they do on their earnings reports. Have you looked into that at all?
No, I have not actually followed the fundamentals yet. That's why I am not proposing of getting into this trade yet.
Yeah.
But now, because it's been trading at this level, consolidation phase for a while now, it's on my watch list basically. That I'll continue to do more research on it. So you probably will see more Celsius content moving forward. As I figure out more information.
I need someone to cover Celsius for me, so that's good. I'll stick to you then.
No, I mean, SoFi I'm not covering these days because it's been on a bull run. I'm waiting for a pullback.
Boring now. Same as Palantir. They've made their move.
It's nothing to talk about. All right.
Awesome. All right, on to the next one.
Next one is Snow. This one we covered many times actually. And we talked about, if you notice in Celsius, you saw a similar consolidation at that level at 108. It just chopped at 108 for a long time. And last quarter, and maybe Sebastian was here, and we talked about, I did get into the position last quarter. So before the last earnings, I got into the position hoping for this gap fill. which never happened. And then we basically saw a decline and a chopping since then. But this earnings, we did have a gap up. And then because of this gap up, we created another gap, which I expect to be filled at some point, because that trend line that we have, which is coming from the top, we did get a rejection. And there's a gap up there. There's a gap fill that needs to be done. And then there's a gap fill because of the latest gap. So this trade right now, I would say that I don't see as a trade. If you want to get into the snow, wait for a pullback to have that gap fill. If there's a rejection from that trend line, then I would wait for an entry around once the gap fill is complete, so that then we can see. And next year, SaaS companies will have their time, because from the last 2 years, SaaS companies have not been doing very well. But all the latest reports from Okta, from CRM, the AI is slowly coming into the software. Now, how much that's going to happen in real life, I don't know. We'll have to continue to watch. But if we continue to get the rejection, the entry point will be once the gap fill happens at the first yellow box that we have. And yeah.
You're talking about it coming down to the bottom.
Exactly. Right now, if you have missed that move, I don't think I wouldn't get into that, because this is a big gap up that we had. I want to wait for a gap fill before either building on your position or starting a new position for that breakout.
So on the contrary to that, then, if it does break out of this trend line, would you be happy for it to basically fill that gap in the upside and then come back down and retest the trend line?
That's what I would be looking for. That would be great, but it doesn't look like it, because it did get rejected from that trend line a couple of times now. 3 times it got rejected. And
it's kind of hovering around it.
It is. And the question is there any catalyst that is coming up? It could very well do that. But if you did not have a position, I wouldn't get into that position, because from there onwards to that gap up, it's the risk to reward, right? You could do that, but I wouldn't do it as a trader from my risk management.
That's fair enough. But yeah, the only thing I would look at is obviously that retest of the trend line here. But of course, I would also look at picking up some shares at 140. So I like both ways. Obviously, you need to sit on your hands, have a bit of patience with this one, but keep it on your watch list. I know Sebastian likes snow. We had a conversation about it not so long ago, and how frustrated I was for basically not buying it here, like, at all. But that happens. It happens. It's okay.
Listen, and there are other stocks like that. There's Datadog. There is, and if you guys want, I'll bring more SaaS companies for, future videos, because I love to trade SaaS.
Because you're a bit more of a range trader as well. You kind of look for those ranges, so when it does pop out, those stocks that have been in that range. So yeah,
exactly. So that's why I wanted to show these 2 examples. One, I showed you Celsius, which is in this consolidation phase right now. It hasn't done any gap ups. So that's why you need to be that kind of a trader, where you're willing to take that opportune chance during the consolidation phase before that rip happens.
Awesome stuff. All right, where can we find you, Kay?
Usual on X. Since I'm getting back, I'll get more active on X. YouTube, I haven't done an update, lately, but this month my focus is to get back on YouTube as well. So you'll see a lot more videos. I'm focusing a lot on semis, so you will see a lot more semi trade ideas coming up as well. And Substack, I'm also trying to pick it back up in the next week or so. So yeah,
good stuff. Look forward to seeing all of that. Right, just before we jump into the audience requests, keep them coming. I think we've got a few to go through, which obviously we're looking forward to. Did you write SMH now from me?
I did. SMH. You want to start with that, or you want to start with Tesla?
No, let me get on the charts first. So we'll fill out the noise with. I've got to basically figure out what I'm doing.
Okay.
It's been too long and I have changed this streaming platform. It's been kind of all over the place, but I wasn't ready for it. But here we go. We are ready now. Nope, that's me. This must be comical for all 2,000 people watching. Right, here we go. We're back. What's up first, okay?
Tesla is first.
Tesla, fantastic. So this is one that we pointed out at the beginning of the week. Oh no, the internet's going to go, isn't it? So I pointed out, it'll load eventually, don't worry. This is one I pointed out at the beginning. It's kind of in a wedge, and I thought, okay, if it breaks either way, here we go. And if it breaks either way, then I'm going to get in it. And of course, what did I do? I didn't get in it.
Yeah.
Classic Sean, point out all of these moves, point out all these opportunities, and then don't get in it. But you can see it played out really nicely. It broke up out of this wedge and then went straight to the first target. Now, this line here is all-time high territory for Tesla. So I think, to be honest, with the momentum, and obviously, like you said, and what we had in the comments today around kind of Elon Musk being related to kind of the government now, I don't see any reason why this doesn't just go straight to 414 in the next, week or so, basically. Yeah, that's my kind of immediate thoughts on Tesla.
And so on the chart, because I'm using Fibonacci to map it out, I think if we can break the 401, I wouldn't be surprised if we can actually go all the way to 418, because that's the next level on the Fibonacci.
Yeah.
So, and that is the 50% on Fibonacci. So I wouldn't be surprised that we are trading at 418 or something like that. Wasn't there like a number like 420 or something like that? That's like a lot of people talk about when it comes to
Yeah, 420 is a very popular number within the community.
Yeah, so 418 is right around that, which is also a pretty decent upside, but 400 is going to be a psychological level to break. But considering all the positive momentum news so far we have, until at least I would say January 20th, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, 420.69. Yeah, exactly.
420.69. The meme numbers, fantastic. Yeah, we'll see what happens in the coming days for Tesla. An exciting one for sure. It's very, very volatile, so do be careful when you're trading this one, everyone. It can bite you in the ass. It's bitten me ass in many, many times, so be careful. Anyway, I'm rambling again. What's next?
Next is Square, SQ.
Fantastic. There's a lot of people joined Square recently. I've once again obviously didn't get into it, but I don't really look at Square too much. I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, sure. So Square has been, and a lot to do with Square has also been due to the Bitcoin run up, because they are also a company that invests heavily on Bitcoin. So they have taken a very, very good advantage, I guess, or been it. For now, I think the trend is your friend. I mean, it continues to make higher highs. I don't see any specific momentum. I wouldn't get into this trade because it's overly bought right now, and unless we see some kind of a reversal from here, I would say 88.65 looks like a good support level.
Oh, that was almost nailed on to what I just drew.
Yeah. And but right now, Sean, I don't see an opportunity to get in at this level. It's just making higher highs.
No, I agree. Is this all-time highs or not?
No, this is not all time. This is like $200, $300 stock. It's
yeah.
It's like it fell from the grace of 2020.
So this
289 was the highest.
You've got a bit of resistance here at 100. That's also psychological as well. So just be careful if you are in this trade. You might get a little bit of resistance at 100, which makes total sense given obviously the move it's made. But on the monthly chart here, we were talking about obviously looking at weeklies and monthlies earlier. Looks like it might be trying to get towards that kind of 50 moving average for the monthly. We can see it act as a really nice support back here in March of 2020, so a very long time ago. And obviously it played around here as well in March again of 2022. So maybe we see this in March of 2025. Who knows? But that would be my kind of point of resistance.
Right now it's the risk to reward ratio. I wouldn't start a new position. If you already have it, you can enjoy the run up and keep moving your stop losses up, but I wouldn't start a new position at this level.
Is this range bound enough for you, Kay? Look at that.
Yeah, it remained a range bound. I was trading Square pretty much on a very, very regular basis, but it wasn't giving enough premium. It was range bound, but there wasn't enough IV for me to extract a lot of premium. So that's why I never talked about much. It was
awesome.
Okay. All right. Next up is NVIDIA. We talked about NVIDIA, so we can skip it. Baba, your favorite stock, Baba.
Baba, yeah. So if I can type properly, that'd be good. Baba, I actually quite like at the moment. Just because the HSI looks like it could be quite turning nicely with the kind of RSI divergence, if that makes sense. But also, I do have a position in Baba. You can see it on the screen here. It's a very ambitious position. As you can see, I want it to go all the way up to kind of 113, but I'm not in a rush with this one at all. What I would like it to see is obviously a bit more plus side. Getting through this 20-moving average would be good. Let's just get rid of that so you can actually see the chart. There we go. But this trend line that's obviously been in place since the massive move in HSI, obviously bringing all those stops up. The beginning of October, it's basically since then it's been kind of coming down, but it seems to have just kind of broken out of there. So whether we hold above that is another question. With next couple of trading days, we'll determine that, and then I will feel much better if we do hold that and make a move higher. I know you want to start talking, but just lastly for me, 97 is the first profit level that I will take money if we get there. The floor is yours.
Listen, the only thing I wanted to say is this: enjoy while it lasts until January 20th. Once he comes in the pot, once he comes and takes the oath, right? You will have a tariff, at least on China, and then we don't know what's going to happen with the Chinese stock.
Yeah,
and I don't know what happened to you, Sean. You just kind of like,
you hear me?
The Chinese stock, you started, disappearing.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay, good. Let me just switch your
phone. Camera is a little blurred. That's it.
Yeah, my phone is just very, very hot right now. So we'll do that instead. I have to switch cameras temporarily.
Next is another Chinese stock, Baidu.
Baidu, yes.
Do you trade Baidu? I've never heard you.
I do, actually. You can see it at the top of my screen, actually.
Oh, I see.
I think I'm actually in this one as well, yeah.
Nice.
This one didn't start out very well for me, I must admit. And again, it's kind of poor education in terms of entry for me. I was anticipating a bounce off the 50-moving average and making a move higher. It did not do that. And my stop loss was down here, and it almost triggered. And that's trading, obviously. You just kind of let it run and see what happens. But it almost triggered, but it didn't. That could be a sign, who knows?
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's kind of battling towards my kind of entry price. At the moment, it's just kind of a backward in the back kind of trade. What I do like to see is obviously getting back to this trend line, essentially. So if I go to the weekly here, this trend line goes all the way back to a long time ago, 2021, so middle of 2021. And all I wanted to do is just go back to the trend line, and that's where I'll take my profit and I'll move on to the next trade, etc. What you could see here actually is a potential kind of breakout of this trend line, which has come down since July of last year. Obviously, a big breakout with HSI. We mentioned that with Barbara a second ago, and obviously a big trail back down could actually act as a bit of a kind of retest, should we say. So that retest could be in place now, and we could be making that move to kind of 109 area already. Yeah, I probably spoke a bit too much about Baidu there, but I think it's a good trade. I mean, 86 to 109, that's pretty good. That's over 20%.
Yeah, my concern is that it has not been able to break its 50 SMA since last year, 2023 September.
On the weekly, you mean?
Yeah, on the weekly.
Yeah.
So that has acted as a resistance. It did break for 2 weeks, and then it just slipped down again.
Well, we'll see, won't we? I mean, there's lots of talk around kind of Chinese assets at the moment, but like you said, these tariffs could come in pretty hot next year. So
yeah,
keep an eye on them for sure, because when they move, they move.
Next is, you want to talk about SMS. You keep it at the end, right? I want to talk about it.
We'll talk about it now.
Okay. Yeah.
Everyone likes to talk about semis. I don't actually have it drawn on my chart though. That's a different thing there. This is the trend line coming down that I was talking about earlier, because it's within the wedge. And the bottom of that wedge, I'll just draw it out now, was essentially there. We can probably bring this up because of the dramatic price action that happened on that particular day down here. But we're kind of within this wedge, and you've got stocks like AMD struggling at the moment, Micron is struggling at the moment, and of course NVIDIA as well. It's not struggling, but it's kind of in a bit of limbo.
Yeah, it's a limbo right now.
But you can expect, when obviously we've seen it before, once this sector moves, it all moves basically together, and NVIDIA is the leader of the sector essentially. So I would be looking for a bit of a move in NVIDIA. Essentially, it's probably the safest option, dare I say it, because obviously the market cap, etc. Would you trust in that, Kay, or do you not think anything's safe?
No, I think the same thing, and that's why there are a lot more opportunities in semis for breakout trade. across the board, whether you look at NVIDIA, whether you look at AMD, whether you look at AVGO actually did have a breakout and they have the earnings coming up, but same thing with Broadcom. So there are a lot more opportunities for trade. And Intel is also another one. The good news was that finally that CEO has left, pretty much ruined the company, brought it to its knees. But anyways, there are opportunities in the semis, I would say, and that would eventually move this ETF as well.
Awesome. I love this comment from Sebastian. Ask yourself from which part of the cycle we are. If Fartcoin has a market cap of almost 300 million USD, this is below of the top phase right now. Yeah, I mean, if your grandmother is starting to talk about Fartcoin, I mean, that's a pretty good sign that it might be at the top. We had this back in 2022, maybe no 2022, 2020 / early 2021, maybe. That's when that was the peak, and then obviously
we have another a very good comment from Ben Dover 6789.
Oh yeah.
He says Intel is a stable coin for 40 years. Man, I think it's going to remain a stable coin for another couple decades. US is not going to let it slide. Okay, let's continue with the request, and then we will touch upon some AI stocks with huge potential. So next one is Home Depot. We haven't covered Home Depot in like forever. It's a behemoth of a stock, I would say. And
it's been doing pretty well actually this year.
Yeah, and honestly, it used to be in my dividend portfolio, but I eventually I got out of that position. But yeah, I mean, it's a stalwart. There's no harm in having it. I don't trade because the premiums are not great on it. I double check. Yeah, for a $43,000, it's only $267, not worth premium.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really look at the stock ever, so I don't really have any comments to be made apart from the fact it's doing very, very well. Perhaps you can see, obviously, resistance here was broken very nicely at 417, just on the technical level. So I'll draw a line there very quickly. If we come back down and retest that in the coming days, do we have earnings? Have we had earnings?
Let me check.
If we come back down and retest that at 418, it could be an interesting price to enter just for a short trade. It's a little bit of a a confidence booster if you're struggling confidence-wise.
No, the earning was reported on 11/12. They beat both top line and bottom line. The next earning is in February 25th.
I'll tell you what would have been nice, this entry here.
Yeah.
The trend line resistance bounced off of it perfectly. Oh, that would have been lovely. Well done if you got into that, anyone. Really, really, really well done. Those are the kind of moves I look out for. No one's a stranger to that. I look out for breakout moves, whether it's a trend line or resistance. It's where you can make the most money in the most impactful way. From a personal point of view, obviously other people have different strategies. Anyway, I'm waffling again.
Yeah. Wow. Next up is Upstart, UPST.
Welcome back.
I know that there are requests coming in. We are just going in the order that we received it. So we will get to your ticker shortly.
Wow, Upstart, look at this.
Yeah.
So that back in late 2021, it was all the way up at $400. All I remember about this stock is that guy on CNBC, I think it was, he came on and started talking about Upstart.
Oh, yeah.
And he just basically, the interviewer was like, so what did they actually do?
He didn't
and he had no idea. I'm not saying I do, but he probably should have done if he was going on CNBC talking about it.
I don't know what it does. Is it like a SoFi?
I think it's something to do with the property market, perhaps, like lending, a firm, that kind of area. I'm not too sure.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Upstart Holding.
But while you do that, obviously I'll talk about it. But technically, this is actually the weekly chart, and you can see a really simple setup, which I actually look for, and we've talked about it before on this stream alone. Big resistance here set in August of last year, and obviously big move coming up to that this year. I've just been playing around this level of kind of 67, 70, and it's actually created a 200 moving average for the weekly and looks to be respecting that and making another move higher. It could be a bit memey, this stock. I mean, it is a bit memey. You can see in the past the massive move it's made. But I can tell you now, it probably wasn't based on fundamentals. But yeah, perhaps the fundamentals are looking good. You can see at the bottom here, the earnings for the last 4 quarters been very, very good. So perhaps people are actually getting a bit of faith in this stock. I'm going to add it to the watch list just to do a little bit more research. I'm not saying I'm overly sold by it, but I'm going to do a little bit of research.
The short interest is pretty high.
Okay.
4%. short interest. Wall Street has a hold, quant has a hold, other analysts have hold. I know there are only few buys on this one. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
okay.
That's it. That's what I'm going to say on this one.
All right, moving on. McDonald's, MCD, another stalwart from a
Yeah, I mean,
dividend stock, right? This is one of the favorite dividend stocks people have.
This was the E. coli situation, wasn't it? Or Ebola, which one it was? What was the outbreak?
Yeah. But those, I mean, that's less like temporary, right? Those things will always happen.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's just what that was, that big drop.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone wants to know.
I mean, people love fast food. They will eat fast food. It's not going anywhere.
I don't really have anything else to say to this chart. I don't really trade dividend stocks generally, or I don't really look at them either generally. Have you got anything to point out here for McDonald's? I mean, technically, it doesn't look like anything's really happening right now. So
yeah, so Sean is a breakout trader. I am an options trader, and McDonald's is not a stock that we generally trade options on. You can. I'm not saying you cannot, but it just doesn't give you enough juice in the premium. It's not one of those stocks to trade options on. But again, as a dividend stock, this is a pretty solid dividend stock for investing. I mean, I kept a position for good 4 or 5 years, decent returns on dividends, but not anymore. I'm not in that position anymore.
nice. I mean, you could look at this for a breakout trade, but to be honest, I don't breakout trade dividend stocks.
Next up is NU. I don't know what this
yes, new. This is this. I think it's the SoFi of South America.
Everything has a South America or Africa type, right?
May not be SoFi directly, but it's finance related in South America.
Fintech, you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, fintech. Looks like we've had a pretty rough time actually the last couple of weeks for NU. Obviously, we had this kind of trend up nicely, and we tried to kind of hold it on in middle part of November, and then obviously just really capitulated, came down after that, just basically after earnings, and then another big couple of gap downs. I wonder why that was. It must be news related.
Well, they missed the revenue by 3.38 million.
Okay, that doesn't help. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's below the 200 moving average. I probably wouldn't get into this or even look to get into this. If I did, it would probably be a short. But again, at the moment, I'm not shorting the market just because, well, anything in the market, I should say, just because we're in a bit of a bull run, of course. The market's moving up. So why try and go against it? It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, other people might think contrarianly, and that's fair enough. But for me, I'm just going to go in the right direction. It just makes sense, even if it's short term or long term.
Yeah.
What we would say here, just technically as well, while we hit the big volume profile here, so it's either bounce or break. So just keep that in mind if you're looking at new holdings. We have a comment here for Leah. I don't know if it's a bot or not. Sorry if you are, or if you're not. Sorry. For someone new, what do you recommend for learning? Can you take this first?
Question is learning for what? Investing, trading. Those are two different things.
Yeah, true. Right. If you take investing, I'll take trading.
So I would say the best way to learn investing would be, typical go to YouTube, look at, what are the general ways you can invest, maybe pick up few basic books for investing. But I think as a starter point, if you want to cut all that crap, pretty much everybody says the same thing. Just start investing in S&P 500. That I would say, cutting all the noise, start investing in S&P 500 and get to learn what kind of companies are there in S&P 500. Then you can start to look at their financials, start to listen to earnings call. Those will be a couple things that I would recommend when you want to start investing. Listening to earnings call and looking at the financials and the products and services the company offers. I think that's a good starting point, and then you can build upon it from there onwards.
It'd be a good time to tell you actually meant trading, isn't she? But no, it's good to know for the other viewers watching as well. But for trading, yeah, I mean, getting started that is tricky because obviously you're guaranteed to lose money. It's essentially how it is. It's like a tuition fee. That's how I see it, or have seen it, should I say. So if you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be paying thousands, doing the degree. I completely forgot the word there. So with trading, just be prepared to lose money at first. I think a lot of people say start out paper trading. I don't believe it personally. The only reason I use paper trading is to learn the platform, see the kind of buys, the sell, how the charting works, what you can use, what symbols to trade. And once you've done about a month of that, and then I would probably put in a very low amount of money, of course, start very, very short, and then just trade. Essentially, just use experience as your guide, because it's literally experience is everything in trading. I've experienced it, you've experienced it, Kay, of course. I cannot hammer it home enough. Obviously, the technical analysis, etc., that will come with it. If you're interested in it enough, you'll look at the videos. I mean, Kay alluded to it with investing. It's the same sort of thing with trading, looking at technical analysis. The fundamentals, of course, they come into it with trading as well, especially if you're more of a swing trader. But yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents. Obviously, there's a lot more to it, but that's kind of the basics that I would kind of go for.
And one thing I would add to that is, maybe if you're looking into trading, go follow those big accounts like Tasty Trades or Tasty Life, something like that, and they teach you trading concepts, and just stick with that. If you start looking at 50 videos from 50 different creators, you will get confused. So whoever you choose, stick with that, try it out, learn. And if that doesn't work out, then you switch to another one. But if you watch 50 different videos from 50 different creators, everybody has a different trading styles. Just between the two of us, Sean likes breakout trades. I do, I forget what I do, but pretty much.
Range, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a range bound trader, right? So we are different types of traders.
There's so many different types of traders. I mean, I've watched 50 different YouTubers over the time, but now I literally only watch two, I think it's two I watch now, just to keep it nice and concise. I'm not trying to learn from them. I just obviously enjoy their content, of course. And I've kind of got what I need out of them as part of my journey. But yeah, no, I think keep it simple in trading. You could very easily get lost.
Yeah.
But just keep it simple and use experience as your teacher, not anyone else, basically.
Okay, let's get back up. Okay, next is MongoDB MDB.
MDB.
We have not covered this stock in like forever. This was long time back we had covered MongoDB.
This is in your ballpark, isn't it? Okay, I'll let you have this one.
It's definitely making higher highs. Is it reporting earnings? Let me just double check. I think
it is. Yeah, it is. It's on 9th, tomorrow, actually.
Okay, so perfect. So I wouldn't get. They have not missed an earnings, whether a top line or a bottom line, since 2020 of 2019. So most likely this is going to be another beat on both top line and bottom line. Problem is we don't see any EPS revision. It's flat act. So I don't know if I would not trade this. I would wait for the earnings to be reported, and based on the reaction, if it's a dip, I would say the 200-day SMA, which is the $300, could be a good entry point if it dips to that level. There was this big gap down that we had in May of 2024, and I believe, and you can see that it took pretty much most of the remaining years for that gap fill to happen. So if something happens on the same lines and we see another drop, 200 adding anything 200-day moving average is a good practice, unless you see a sharp decline because of the declining business. That's a different thing. Then that concept will not hold true. That's what I will say.
Yeah, I think from a purely technical level, I really like that 300 level, because I haven't actually mentioned it at all this episode. Confluence, which is where certain indicators and support lines, etc., will come together. So you have that kind of resistance line. I don't know why I drew it there, but not here. You've got that resistance line here in the past, and basically in September, October, even parts of November, act as a resistance. We've obviously since then broke out of there. So we've got that and the volume profile and the 200 moving average, and by then probably the 50 moving average won't be far off of it. So that's 4 points of confluence, and pretty good confluence as well in terms of the strong point. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if it gets back down there. But of course, if it does obviously blow up in earnings in a positive way, probably won't see that in the near future. We do also have this trend line as well, so that can come into it at the same time. So lots to go on there. I've actually added this to my watch list, so whoever brought this up, I do appreciate it. I don't know who it was now, but yeah, I think it was actually, here we go, Venkat.
Yeah. Next up is Oracle.
Oh, cool. Nice. Also, earnings tomorrow. Is that right?
Yep.
Well, kind of, is this all-time high territory?
It is all-time high territory, but there are two gaps that has not been filled.
Yeah, this one.
Uh, the first one is pretty close by, right? So if there is some sort of weakness or a miss, you could see that gap fill happening. If not, then I guess we continue higher.
Yeah, very simple. What Kay was talking about there, the two gaps are on the screen. This gap is very interesting because it's all the way down to kind of 144, but you've got the 200 moving average there as well. So if we do have particularly terrible earnings, but the outlook is not too bad, then perhaps that might be a point of interest for investors or even traders for like a swing trade. But even this one, I don't really like this one. This first gap, I think it's
Yep.
a bit too no man's landy. But yeah, that's Oracle.
Okay, next up is Qualcomm.
Qualcomm, is that the last one?
I think there's one more, TMDX, after that.
TMDX. That's been interesting of late. Cool. So last two tickers then. QCOM. I've got a few lines drawn on here for some reason. This must have been previous price action which I was having a look at. Bit of a trend line, obviously broke in the end, so I'll get rid of that. And this trend line as well, I was looking for that to break, and it kind of has, but not in the most emphatic way possible. I might have actually been looking at a short by the looks of that. Anyway,
It's
Cool.
yeah, no, I mean, just like all the semis that we have been talking about, right? This 151, let me see, this is what's the level here? 150, 124, where we had couple bounces. That's a decent level of what do you call a support level. And then we do have this resistance around this level of 174.96. So again, this is a range bound stock, similar to all the other semis like NVIDIA, AMD, Broadcom, I think did break out, but this is a good range bound. If you are into Qualcomm, this is a good positioning to add before we see the next breakout for semis. Now, again, I'm not saying we could see a down potential, but if you are going to trade, you should have stop losses. So I would aim for 151 as a entry point and maybe a bounce from there. But for now, seems like the 50 SMA is a resistance, and then 174.96 will be the second resistance.
Awesome. We'd love to see it. We've got one more, haven't we? TMDX.
TMDX, yes. Apple said it will build small chips like Qualcomm, Sebastian says.
Or QCOM. Or TMDX. Oh, Apple.
Yeah, no. So Sebastian's comment was Apple is looking to build chips like Qualcomm, so eventually replacing Qualcomm from there.
Right. So I was looking elsewhere at the time. TMDX. I mean, this one I've seen in kind of various graphics on X of how dramatic these falls are. I don't even know what the company does, but something in the healthcare department.
Yeah, it's a Transmedics groups, and what do they do, man? They are a commercial stage medical technology company engages in transforming organ transplant therapy for end state organ failure patients in US and internationally.
So I have looked at this in the past, clearly, because I've got a couple of lines drawn. I imagine it's from previous resistance and support. So I'll leave those lines on the chart. But I mean, I don't trade healthcare at all. But if you are interested in this name, then these are the levels I have drawn. So maybe use them as your perspective, but not exactly. Make sure you do your own research into this. But I mean, big drop here initially of 25%, and obviously from that point as well, we're currently down almost 50%. So it's almost a no-touch stock for me. Down is down.
Yeah, I mean, it's in a pretty bad state. I mean, I wouldn't touch this stock right now. Because see, if you think about this stock, right, it's currently in the free falling, and there is a gap between 54 and 44 that goes back to 2023. So
There's one here.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it continues to have bad news. That could be a fill right there.
So is that a potential entry for you, or are you still staying away from it even if it
No,
does?
no, no. I generally don't trade these kind of stocks, but that's a 35% drop from current point. So if you are interested in this, that could be a potential entry point. Potential.
Yeah,
But if
things don't
it's
look good.
dropping that much, then I don't know. You'll probably have to look at the company.
No. And Sebastian doesn't touch pharma or healthcare either. So
Yeah, I
there you
mean,
go.
what is that? The CEO was shot, right? The United Healthcare CEO.
Oh, shot. I thought you said short. Yeah, no, shot. That's terrifying news.
Yeah,
Yeah,
assassinated.
not good
It's
at all.
crazy.
That happened this week as well, didn't it?
Yeah, and then the stock did drop.
They still haven't found the guy, have they? Or unless they have in the last couple of days.
Yeah, no, they're searching for that guy. But the funny part was the comments from people. There were comments that people were happy about it. I was like, it's crazy. Like people getting assassinated, people are happy about it.
The world is a crazy place, Kay.
I know.
And with that craziness, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. I know a lot of you are watching on X, but we do have a YouTube channel. It's I'm zooming into it so you can see it now. So go ahead and subscribe over there. We really appreciate it. We're almost at 300, so we'd like to get there before Christmas, and I'm pretty sure we could probably do that with your support, of course. And with that, I'm going to try and organize the stream. Sorry.
Yeah, before that, there was a question. DS asked, can UNH be bought here? Well, so the reason UNH had a drop is because of this particular news, right? So there wasn't any weakness in the company itself. So if you have a long-term position, or if you want to start a position from an investing standpoint, I'm not saying trading, investing standpoint, these are the opportunities that you should take advantage of on building your position for long term.
Yeah.
That's what I
look at CrowdStrike and Palo Alto.
Exactly.
When that massive outage kind of happened 6 months ago-ish now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been booming since.
So take advantage if you believe in the company, and if you already have a position, I would build on those big drops. Same things, the same concept applies on whether you're doing S&P 500, QQQ, or any other company. Whenever you have these like anomaly kind of news, take advantage of it.
Exactly right. Well said, Kay. Yeah, that's it. It's the end of the stream. We really enjoyed today. Obviously, it's weird being back after 4 or 5 weeks or something like that. And we really appreciate the 3,000 plus watchers. And obviously, a big thank you to Wolf for that. Obviously, letting us use the platform and obviously the account to kind of stream on it. We really appreciate that. Anything to say here, Kay?
No, this is great. Happy holidays to everybody. We are back. We'll be doing this every single week. Feel free to drop comments on our X channel if you want to cover stocks earlier. We'll just make sure we'll add those in our lineup early.
Yeah, and the X handles that we do travel at are obviously pinned basically on the screen now. So Sean Trades _ and obviously Invest K as well. So do catch us there. We'll see you same time next week, which is 1 p.m. Eastern time and 6 p.m. UK time. Thank you very much for watching.
We'll say bend over 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. There you go. He got it in there, didn't he? Just got it in there.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.